15. The demonic Labubu doll in The Simpsons. For a show that's been on air since 1989, The Simpsons has drawn plenty of attention for its surreal predictions and eerie symbolism. But one lesser-known theory creeps out even seasoned viewers: the strange case of the Labubu doll. Labubu isn't a character officially credited by The Simpsons team. In fact, most fans only caught a glimpse of it during a blink-and-you-miss-it scene in a Halloween-themed episode. The figure was tucked into the background, half obscured by shadow, its smile just a little too wide. What got people talking wasn't just the design, but the way it looked almost identical to a real-world designer toy called Labubu, created by artist Kasing Lung in Asia. These toys are intentionally unsettling, combining the look of vintage plush with jagged teeth and hollow expressions. But why did it end up in Springfield? The conspiracy gained traction when viewers started noticing similar background figures across multiple episodes, sometimes perched behind curtains or hidden inside televisions. None of them ever spoke. They just stared. Forums began referring to these sightings as Labubu spirits, suggesting that Matt Groening or someone on the animation team was inserting demonic effigies into episodes, not as Easter eggs, but as something darker. Some conspiracy theorists even believed these figures were part of a hidden pact. One Reddit user pointed out that the Labubu doll always appears during scenes that involve themes of reality distortion, dreams, or memory loss. One of the most discussed appearances occurred during Treehouse of Horror 26, where Bart's consciousness gets uploaded into a digital world. In a brief static glitch, Labubu's face seems to merge with the pixels on screen. Viewers recorded the episode, slowed it down frame by frame, and swear they found blinking eyes inside the static. There's no official word from the creators, of course, but some believe the continued use of Labubu figures serves as a quiet nod to secretive influences behind the show's decades-long success. Others chalk it up to animators having fun with obscure pop culture references. But if you've ever rewatched a Simpsons episode and felt like something was watching from the background, you might not be alone. 14. Illuminati symbols in modern shorts. Over the last decade, animated shorts on YouTube and streaming platforms have exploded in popularity. Their art styles range from playful and quirky to dark and experimental. But some fans have noticed something strange hidden in plain sight: recurring symbols that seem to mirror real-world Illuminati imagery. It's not just the famous triangle with an eye, although that one pops up the most. Viewers have documented pyramids with glowing tops, eyes blinking from walls, checkerboard floors, and cryptic Latin phrases that flash on screen for less than a second. In many cases, these symbols don't seem to belong to the story at all. They're just there, brief, unexplained, and unsettling. One of the most cited examples comes from a short film posted by a popular indie animator. The plot followed a child exploring an abandoned museum. Everything seemed harmless until one frame showed a mural featuring hooded figures surrounding a glowing triangle. It wasn't referenced or explained, but fans paused the video and zoomed in. The triangle contained numbers that some claim match coordinates for real government buildings. Another popular miniseries aimed at teens featured a mysterious game show run by a faceless host. The opening credits flashed a spinning wheel with the all-seeing eye at its center. Again, it was never mentioned, but the symbol was always watching. People online began calling it the Illuminati watermark. Some say it's just lazy symbolism, reused because it looks cool. But others think it's intentional, an effort to normalize these symbols so they slip into everyday media without notice. Some theories go even further. A few believe that certain shorts serve as soft messaging. When strange shapes or symbols appear right before a big plot twist, viewers argue that it's like a quiet stamp, marking key moments with hidden meanings. One popular channel's short about dreams ends with a door opening to a dark pyramid. The screen cuts to black, but not before a single glowing eye appears at the bottom corner. Creators rarely respond to these claims. When asked, most wave it off as coincidence or artistic flair. But the frequency and consistency of the symbols raise questions. Is it just an aesthetic? Or are these shorts subtly training viewers to accept the presence of symbols they don't understand? That quiet triangle seems to be watching either way. 13. Steven Universe and Government Codes. Steven Universe built its reputation on emotional storytelling and cosmic lore. But beneath the heartfelt moments and gemstone battles, some viewers believe the show hides a stranger layer, one that includes actual coded messages connected to real-world agencies. At first glance, that sounds far-fetched. After all, the series is aimed at younger audiences, but online forums began tracking recurring patterns in the show's backgrounds, especially during warp scenes or when advanced tech is shown. The patterns often included symbols that resembled radio frequency charts, old satellite signal graphs, and shapes associated with deep space communication arrays. In one episode, during a scene with the character Peridot, a flash of screen data appears behind her. When fans paused and enhanced the image, they found a string of binary numbers. Curious users converted the binary into text, revealing what looked like a scrambled mix of English letters and Morse code. Some of it translated to phrases like observe, classified, or signal returned. Was it just flavor text made to look scientific? Possibly, but it didn't stop there. In another episode, fans noticed a symbol etched into one of the warp pads. It looked eerily similar to a diagram used by NASA in a real-life communication system from the 1970s. This led some to theorize that Steven Universe may have drawn inspiration, or more, from genuine government science programs. A few even wondered whether some of the show's writers had backgrounds in scientific coding or space tech. But the strangest part, some of the codes, when deciphered, appear to be incomplete, as if they're part of a larger puzzle spread across multiple episodes. Online groups have formed solely to track these occurrences, compiling charts and theories trying to solve the Steven codes. There's no official confirmation from the show's creators. Rebecca Sugar, the creator, has always said the show is about love, identity, and growth. But fans can't help but wonder, why go through the trouble of inserting real data into a fictional universe? Whether it's just a clever way to engage eagle-eyed viewers or something more mysterious, the presence of government-style coding in a show about crystal warriors has definitely caught attention. Maybe the real message isn't just in the songs or story arcs, but hidden in the static between frames. 12th, cartoons as hidden purgatories. At first, cartoons seem full of life, bright colors, silly characters, and endless episodes that seem to reset every time. But some fans believe these endless loops may be clues to something much darker. A long-standing theory suggests that some cartoons take place in hidden purgatories, where characters are stuck repeating the same events forever. One of the earliest examples tied to this theory is Ed N. Eddy. Fans noticed that the show has almost no adults, no real-time progression, and a strange glow to the neighborhood. The characters act out exaggerated behaviors that rarely change, and even when episodes are intense, nothing ever really ends. Some began to suggest the kids were trapped, not in a neighborhood, but in a limbo where time doesn't move forward. This theory spread to other shows like Courage the Cowardly Dog, where the family is isolated in a desert with no neighbors and nothing beyond the horizon. Strange visitors arrive, things get bizarre, and then everything resets. The sense of being stuck becomes part of the story's background. Then there's the fairly odd parents. Timmy Turner has access to magical wishes, but nothing ever seems to make his life truly better. He resets every episode, repeating the same mistakes. Some viewers suggest his fairy godparents are not gifts, but guides through a personal purgatory, helping him face the same lessons over and over without real escape. The unsettling part is how often these shows avoid major consequences. No one truly grows older. Big events are forgotten. Characters stay locked in cycles that feel cheerful on the surface, but empty underneath. That repetitive structure starts to feel less like a writing style and more like a hidden message. Of course, these theories aren't confirmed by the creators. Most writers chalk it up to classic cartoon structure, designed for syndication and simple viewing. But the idea of purgatory gives the stories a haunting undertone. Maybe the laughs are hiding a quiet truth. These characters can't leave because they were never meant to. Whether it's a creative coincidence or something intentional, the feeling of being frozen in time adds a strange energy to rewatching old shows. You might laugh, but deep down, part of you wonders if that strange glow behind the character's eyes isn't just artistic flair. 11. Gravity Falls and Time Traveler Surveillance. Gravity Falls is packed with mystery, secret codes, and strange creatures. But one theory goes beyond cryptic journals and odd symbols. Some fans believe the show hides a warning that we're already being watched by time travelers. It begins with Blendin Blandin, a character introduced as a bumbling time traveler fixing temporal anomalies. At first, he seems like comic relief, but over time, viewers noticed how carefully he's placed. He's often hidden in the background, watching events unfold without interfering. In multiple episodes, Blendin appears before he's formally introduced, just standing still and observing. This raised a question. Was Blendin just part of the joke, or a symbol for something deeper? Fans on forums started pointing out how Gravity Falls seems to reference real surveillance culture. In several scenes, characters are tracked by strange devices or unknowingly monitored. The show makes light of it, but the frequency builds a pattern. One episode shows a bunker filled with old tapes and monitoring equipment, like someone has been recording everything happening in the town. The moment passes quickly, but the implication sticks. Someone, or something, is always watching. That's where the theory gets even weirder. People notice that the show's hidden ciphers, messages tucked into credits or backgrounds, sometimes contain real-world GPS coordinates, timestamps, or code strings. Fans decoded them and found that some line up with actual surveillance programs, including references to time-related anomalies and historical events that involve unexplainable gaps. What if the show isn't just about solving mysteries, but about being the mystery? Some viewers believe the show's structure mirrors how Time Watchers might track and test timelines. Each episode is self-contained but carries forward small shifts. It's as if the town is a loop, constantly monitored for changes, and Blendin represents those watching for slips in the timeline. The theory doesn't claim the show creators are sending warnings on purpose, but it plays with the idea that shows like Gravity Falls mirror a world where watchers blend in, events are observed quietly, and time doesn't always move how we think it does. You might laugh at the idea of a time traveler in a cartoon, but next time you rewatch the series and spot someone standing silently in the background, ask yourself this: who's watching who? 10. Iceberg memes and hidden cartoon layers. Iceberg memes started as a fun way to list odd facts, ranking ideas from well-known to deeply hidden. But when fans began making cartoon-themed iceberg charts, something strange happened. They uncovered layers of storytelling most people never noticed, and some believe those layers weren't meant to be found. Take popular cartoons like Adventure Time, SpongeBob SquarePants, or Courage the Cowardly Dog. Iceberg charts about these shows suggest there's much more than meets the eye. The top levels focus on obvious things: main characters, basic plot lines, inside jokes. But the bottom tiers? That's where things get unsettling. For example, an Adventure Time iceberg chart revealed background details hinting that the entire world is a post-disaster zone. Mutated creatures, broken satellites in the sky, and quiet references to the Mushroom War suggest a much darker past than the surface tone implies. These pieces are scattered across the series but never fully explained, like they're meant to be pieced together only by those who dig deep. Another example comes from SpongeBob, a show known for being silly and lighthearted. But iceberg charts point out oddities, like how Mr. Krabs seems obsessed with controlling others, or how characters act out strange patterns of behavior that resemble real psychological conditions. Some fans argue these traits aren't just jokes, but hidden commentary, buried beneath the humor. The iceberg theory itself suggests that creators intentionally hide these ideas. The deeper you go, the more offbeat or uncomfortable the content becomes. It's like a test. Only the most observant viewers ever reach the bottom, and what they find can completely shift how you see the show. That's where the theory takes a darker turn. Some believe the bottom layers aren't just hidden lore, but are messages, woven into the cartoon as a kind of soft reveal. By spreading them out and disguising them as fan theories, creators can explore topics without directly saying anything. But whether that's the intent or just creative coincidence, the effect is the same. Iceberg memes invite people to look closer. They turn simple cartoons into mysterious puzzles with secret truths underneath the laughs. So next time you see a cartoon iceberg online, take a second look. You might not be staring at just fan trivia. You might be seeing the show the way it was meant to be seen, layer by layer. 9. I, Pet Goat 2 as occult ritual. At first glance, I, Pet Goat 2 looks like an animated art film filled with surreal images. But for many who've watched it closely, it feels like something else entirely, something deeper, darker, and possibly symbolic of hidden rituals. Released by a Canadian studio called Heliofant, this short film exploded in popularity for its mysterious and disturbing visuals. It's silent, except for haunting music, and its style is rich in symbolism. Viewers quickly noticed images that seemed to echo themes of ancient mythology, secret societies, and real-world events. But some didn't see it as just art. They saw it as a coded message, or even a ritual in digital form. One of the earliest theories appeared on conspiracy forums. Viewers pointed out the presence of pyramids, glowing eyes, burning towers, and figures that appear possessed or entranced. These aren't hidden in the background, they're front and center. What made it even more suspicious to some was the film's extreme attention to detail. Every second feels like it was designed with purpose. The main character, a hollow-eyed child, appears trapped in a world of shadows and war. Some viewers think he represents innocence controlled by darker forces. As the film moves forward, powerful figures dance, symbols burn, and religious icons collapse. It's all wordless, but loud in meaning. Some people believe I, Pet Goat 2 is more than a story. They see it as a visualization of an occult ceremony. Each scene could represent stages in a hidden initiation, loss of identity, control by power, the fall of old systems, and a rebirth into something new. The theory claims that by watching it, viewers are unknowingly part of that symbolic process. Is that a stretch? Possibly. But what can't be denied is how the film mixes spiritual imagery with themes of control and chaos. It never explains itself. That silence leaves room for theories to grow, and they have. Even now, years after its release, new interpretations surface. People discover shapes hidden in the shadows, figures reflected in mirrors, or timing that seems to match real-world headlines. Whether that's coincidence or design, it keeps the theory alive. Whether you see it as art, prediction, or ritual, I, Pet Goat 2, lingers in your mind long after it ends. And maybe that's the point, to leave you wondering if what you watched was just a film, or something more. 8. Cartoons as alternate reality TVs. Most people think of cartoons as fiction, but there's a strange theory floating around online that suggests something more unusual. What if certain cartoons aren't just stories, but broadcasts from alternate realities? This idea may sound like science fiction, but the concept of alternate timelines has been explored by physicists and philosophers for decades. Now, some fans believe these ideas might be hidden inside animation. According to the theory, the weirdest cartoons are actually leaks from realities that almost, but not quite, match our own. The evidence people point to usually starts with the feeling. Some cartoons don't just seem creative, they seem off, like they were created by someone with a very different view of logic, time, or even language. Shows like Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, and Over the Garden Wall often change physics, switch character roles, or reset reality completely. But instead of just being weird for fun, the theory claims they're reflecting actual timelines that play out differently from ours. One popular argument comes from episodes that appear to predict real events. Viewers argue that this doesn't mean the writers saw the future. It means they tapped into timelines where those events already happened. In this way, cartoons become windows into possible futures or distorted pasts. Another example comes from strange, low-budget animations found on hidden corners of the internet. These often use broken English, disjointed storylines, or oddly specific references that don't match anything in our world. Some theorists say this isn't just bad writing. It's the result of receiving data from a place with different rules. It's as if someone turned on a TV in another dimension, and we caught a broadcast by accident. The theory also points to how some characters seem aware they're being watched. They talk to the viewer, hint at events outside their world, or act like they know the future. These moments are often brushed off as comedy, but believers say it's more like a signal that the characters are real somewhere. Of course, this theory has no hard proof, but it plays on the idea that cartoons aren't limited by the rules of reality, and maybe that freedom allows them to carry messages from realities we don't understand. Next time you watch a cartoon that feels a little too strange, ask yourself, is this just imagination or a signal from somewhere else? 7. Modern shorts, featuring depopulated futures. In recent years, animated shorts have taken a darker turn. More and more creators are releasing stories set in empty cities, quiet planets, and silent, abandoned worlds. These aren't just apocalyptic tales, they're eerily specific visions of the future, and some viewers believe they reflect something we're not being told. One standout example comes from a viral short called URBO: The Adventure of Pax. At first, it looks like a simple sci-fi story about a robot exploring a ruined Earth, but the deeper you watch, the more it feels like the robot isn't just wandering, he's looking for something that once existed but was erased. The cities are too clean, the sky too still. It's like the world didn't fall apart, it was simply emptied. That theme repeats in other animated shorts. Characters walk through massive buildings with no people, schools with no students, and highways with no traffic. Sometimes, the silence is peaceful. Other times, it feels staged, like something's missing but no one talks about it. The theory suggests that these shorts are not just creative stories, but soft glimpses into a possible future. Some say they're a response to real fears about isolation, technology, and population shifts. Others think the creators know something, that maybe the stories reflect planned outcomes or alternate realities we're slowly being conditioned to accept. One chilling example shows a child drawing pictures in a ruined home. On the wall behind them is a photo of a bustling city, now gone. The short never explains what happened. It just ends with the child walking into the fog, smiling. People online have pointed out that these shorts often feature no spoken dialogue. They rely on atmosphere, body language, and quiet music. The lack of words makes the silence feel heavier. It's as if the future being shown isn't just empty, it's forgotten. The idea is unsettling, that the more we see these silent futures, the more normal they feel. If enough media shows a world without people, maybe we stop questioning where everyone went. Of course, not every short film hides a message, but the pattern is there. A rising number of animations are showing futures where the buildings still stand, but the people don't. And sometimes, silence speaks louder than any script. 6th cartoon, Chemtrails in background art. In many cartoons, the sky is just part of the background: blue skies, clouds, and the occasional airplane streak. But some viewers believe there's something strange hiding in that simplicity. Repeated appearances of long, white trails across the sky, often in shows that have nothing to do with flying. These have led to a theory that cartoons may be quietly echoing real-world chemtrail conspiracies. The theory claims that these trails aren't random or for realism. They're placed intentionally. Fans started noticing that in several episodes of different cartoons, cloudy streaks appear even when no aircraft is shown. And they're not just short contrails from jets. They span the sky, sometimes in X patterns, sometimes as parallel lines, and often remain frozen for the entire scene. One example comes from The Amazing World of Gumball. In one background shot, the sky behind the school has thick white trails forming a strange spiral. They're never mentioned, and the scene is unrelated to anything in the sky. Another example appears in Regular Show, where a still frame of the park includes evenly spaced lines above the trees. Nothing flying, just lines. While these could be artistic choices, fans point out that the designs match real-world patterns that conspiracy theorists believe are evidence of atmospheric manipulation. Online, people have zoomed into screenshots, enhanced the images, and created collections showing how often these streaks appear. Some go further, suggesting that cartoons are used to normalize the presence of these trails, training the next generation to see them as ordinary. If kids grow up seeing them in every cartoon sky, maybe they'll never question them in real life. It sounds extreme, but the theory gained attention because the patterns do seem to repeat more often than chance might allow. Artists and animators haven't said much on the topic. Most studios use sky templates or simple brush tools to create quick backgrounds. But even so, it's the specific style of the trails, their size, placement, and lack of movement that keeps this theory alive. Whether these background trails are intentional hints or just standard scenery, one thing is clear: people are watching the skies, even in cartoons. And once you notice the lines, you might never look at the sky the same way again. Fifth, alien influence Easter eggs. Aliens have always been a part of pop culture, especially in cartoons. From green little creatures to flying saucers, they've appeared for decades. But some fans believe there's more to these cameos than just jokes. A growing theory suggests that alien-themed Easter eggs in cartoons are more than fiction. They're quiet hints at something real. The idea took off when viewers began noticing strange, consistent symbols hidden in different shows. In Gravity Falls, alien writing appears briefly on walls and props, readable only when decoded. In Adventure Time, some technology looks like it belongs to beings from another planet. But what really stands out is how similar some of these designs are across unrelated cartoons. Take the classic gray alien figure. Big head, dark eyes, thin body. This shape pops up repeatedly, not just as a character but carved into walls, printed on signs, or drawn on papers in the background. These aren't central to the story. They're just there, hidden, waiting to be spotted. Fans have collected screenshots from dozens of shows showing nearly identical alien symbols. Some include triangle ships, circular doorways, or glowing blue objects. What's odd is that many of these details aren't part of the story. They're never explained. They just exist in the background. The theory goes further. Some believe these symbols reflect shared knowledge, something animators include because they've either seen it or been told about it. A few conspiracy sites even claim cartoon studios receive guidelines on how to present aliens to help soften the idea over time. Of course, there's no real proof, but the coincidences build. In one scene from a lesser-known show, a background computer screen shows a blueprint of a spacecraft nearly identical to one declassified in a real-world military report. Another series features a town that constantly experiences lights in the sky, but the characters never seem to notice, as if the odd events are normal. The theory suggests that alien themes in cartoons are part of a long, slow exposure, normalizing the idea until it's no longer surprising. If aliens ever did appear, would people even be shocked? Or would they just say, "Oh, like in that one cartoon"? Whether these Easter eggs are harmless fun or quiet disclosures, the question remains, why do so many cartoons hide the same clues? And what else might be waiting in the background? 4. Birds aren't real cartoons. The Birds Aren't Real movement started as a satirical conspiracy, claiming birds were replaced by government surveillance drones. But something strange happened as the idea gained traction. People began spotting animated shows that, oddly enough, seemed to hint at this theory long before it became popular. In several cartoons, birds act weird. Not cartoon weird, but glitchy, robotic, or detached from normal behavior. A good example comes from The Amazing World of Gumball, where a bird freezes mid-flight, then spins like a broken drone. No one in the episode reacts. It just happens, and cuts to the next scene. Another case appears in regular show, where a background seagull lands, turns its head 180 degrees, and then makes a mechanical buzzing sound. Again, it's never mentioned. It just blends into the episode like a hidden Easter egg. Fans started connecting these strange bird moments to the theory, arguing that animators were including clues on purpose. Whether for fun, to mock the idea, or to signal something deeper is still debated. But the signs keep showing up. One fan-made list documented over 30 shows with birds behaving more like machines. These include pixelated wings, digital flickers, camera-like eye zooms, and strange non-bird sounds. Many of these episodes aired long before the internet theory exploded in popularity. That timing made some wonder. Were creators already tuned in to this bizarre idea? What makes the theory even more curious is how some cartoons portray government agents interacting with birds. In one lesser-known series, a mysterious van parks near a school just as a group of pigeons land on a power line. The pigeons glow faintly, then fly off in perfect sync. The moment lasts 3 seconds, but viewers who paused it noticed that one pigeon's shadow didn't match its shape. It looked like a tiny surveillance device. So is it just clever animation and coincidence? Or are cartoons testing how people react to absurd ideas before those ideas become more widely accepted? It's hard to say, but it is odd how many animated birds behave more like flying cameras than actual animals. Maybe it's just a running joke among artists. Or maybe, just maybe, cartoons have been telling us for years that some things in the sky aren't what they seem. After all, in a world full of hidden messages, even a bird might be more than it appears. 3rd, Illuminati in Simpsons, pyramid eyes. The Simpsons has long been accused of predicting the future, but beyond the well-known examples, some fans have focused on something even stranger: repeated appearances of pyramid eyes, symbols often linked to Illuminati theories. These symbols aren't loud or flashy. They're quick, quiet, and usually tucked into the background. But once you spot them, you start seeing them everywhere. One of the clearest examples appears during a dream sequence where Homer falls through a strange, void-like world. As he tumbles, the background flashes with strange symbols, including a floating triangle with an eye in its center. It glows briefly, then disappears. That triangle is no ordinary shape. It's the same image found on the back of the US dollar bill, long tied to ideas of secret societies and hidden control. In the show, it's never explained. It just flashes once and is gone. Another episode shows Bart in a school hallway lined with posters. One of them shows an all-seeing eye centered in a pyramid under the words, "We're always watching." It plays like a joke, but some viewers believe it's a signal, that the writers are planting symbols to reflect the idea that someone or something is behind the scenes, pulling strings. What makes the theory even more convincing for some is how consistent the imagery is. The symbols don't change from season to season. Same design, same placement, same silence. It's not just eyes and pyramids. Fans have pointed out checkerboard floors, numbers that match occult patterns, and hand gestures made by characters during key scenes. These could be coincidences, but to those who believe in the theory, they feel like puzzle pieces left behind for people who are paying attention. The creators of The Simpsons haven't addressed this directly. When asked about their predictions, they often respond with humor, saying they write so much content that some of it's bound to match real life. But the symbols? Those go unmentioned. Maybe they're just artist flourishes. Maybe animators use them because they look cool. But some fans aren't buying it. They think the show has always played with secret messages, not to expose anything, but to blur the line between joke and truth. So the next time you watch The Simpsons, pause during the strange moments. You might find a triangle staring back at you. 2. Cryogenics and Disney cameos. The idea that Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen after his passing is one of the most famous urban legends in entertainment history. While it's been debunked by official sources, the theory still lingers. And oddly enough, some believe the company's own cartoons might be keeping it alive through strange cameos and hidden clues. Over the years, several Disney animated films have featured quick, unexplained appearances by characters or objects that seem oddly out of place. In Frozen, for example, fans spotted what looks like a frozen silhouette of a man with slicked back hair and a mustache, hidden in the ice castle sequence. The shot is brief and blurry, but the resemblance is enough to raise eyebrows. In another example, Big Hero 6 includes a scene where a frozen head sits in a lab's background display case. It's never mentioned. It's not part of the plot, but it's clearly placed in full view for just a few seconds. Fans joked that it might be Walt, but some took it more seriously. The theory goes beyond visuals. Some claim the sudden naming of Frozen as a Disney film was no accident. Before the movie existed, searching Disney Frozen online would mostly bring up cryogenic rumors. After the movie's release, the search results changed completely, now filled with snowmen and princesses instead. Conspiracy theorists suggest the title was chosen to push those rumors out of the spotlight. Even older Disney cartoons have added to the mystery. In one classic short, a mouse character walks through a laboratory filled with labeled drawers. One drawer is marked with a name, W. Disney, and snowflakes float out when it's opened. The moment lasts seconds, but it's been replayed and analyzed dozens of times. The idea behind the theory is this. Disney may be using its own animation as a soft way to acknowledge or distract from deeper rumors. These quick nods and frozen heads might be jokes, or they might be subtle clues, quietly placed to stir curiosity. Of course, there's no hard proof, but the repeated use of frozen figures, cryo chambers, and shadowy cameos keeps fans guessing. Whether it's all coincidence or a long-running game of misdirection, the fact remains. Disney cartoons have a way of hiding things in plain sight. And maybe, just maybe, some legends never really thaw. 1. Modern cartoons and hidden mind control frames. Among all the strange cartoon conspiracy theories shared online, one stands out as the most unnerving. It's not about secret societies, lost civilizations, or haunted animation cells. It's something far more subtle, and that's what makes it so disturbing. The theory claims that certain modern cartoons hide single-frame images, flashed for just a moment, that are designed to influence your thoughts without you even realizing it. Not as part of the story, but hidden between the action. These are known as subliminal frames, and if the theory is true, they might be slipping messages directly into your subconscious. This isn't some wild idea pulled from science fiction. The use of subliminal messaging has a real history. In the mid-20th century, researchers experimented with flashing images in films, like a quick shot of popcorn or a drink, hoping to boost concession sales. Though results were debated, the idea that hidden images could affect behavior took hold. Eventually, governments and advertising companies banned the practice in many places. But in cartoons, no one was really watching for it there. That's what makes this theory so compelling. Cartoons are fast. They move at 24 to 30 frames per second. That means in a 10-minute episode, there are thousands of individual images flying by. If just one of those frames carried something odd, something not meant to be seen with the naked eye, most viewers would never notice, but their brains might. Fans online claim to have found these hidden frames in several shows. One user slowed down an episode of a well-known animated series and discovered a single black and white image buried in the middle of a transition scene. It looked like a person's face, stretched and distorted. Others have found strange words like watch, obey, or forget flickering in a frame during high-energy scenes when the viewer's attention is focused elsewhere. What makes this even stranger is that the images often don't match the style of the rest of the show. They feel out of place, like they were inserted from a different source, static-filled, lower in quality, and slightly unsettling. Some look like old surveillance footage. Others contain shapes or spirals that mimic visual triggers used in psychology experiments. The theory suggests that these hidden frames aren't accidents. They're tests, small-scale experiments to see how people react to repeated imagery. Some theorists believe that the goal isn't immediate control, but long-term shaping of how viewers think or feel, especially young viewers who binge-watch entire seasons. While no official studio has confirmed these claims, a few animators have anonymously hinted in interviews that filler frames are sometimes added during editing. These are usually meant as inside jokes or quick Easter eggs. But when asked about specific examples containing strange or out-of-place content, responses tend to stop cold. One episode of a sci-fi cartoon even joked about the theory, showing a frame that says, "This frame controls your brain," right before cutting to black. It was played for laughs, but the fact that the creators referenced it at all only added fuel to the fire. Was it a joke? Or was it a confession hiding in humor? There's also the idea that some of these frames don't contain direct commands, but symbols, images that reappear across multiple shows, like glowing eyes, spirals, checkerboards, or blinking triangles. These shapes are often associated with subconscious triggers in pop psychology. If a viewer sees the same shape over and over, even without noticing it consciously, could it shape how they feel about a scene, or even about the real world? Of course, many experts say this is all just creative coincidence. Animators reuse assets. Backgrounds are filled with random designs. Mistakes happen, but the more people look, the more they find. Hidden faces, quick flashes, words that shouldn't be there. And while they could all be accidents, the pattern is what raises eyebrows. Another unsettling detail? Some of these suspected frames only appear in digital versions of the shows. When people go back to their DVDs or older broadcast recordings, the odd frames are gone. This has led to speculation that the changes were made during streaming uploads, far from the original creators, deep in the quiet corners of digital distribution. And if something did get added later, who added it? We may never have a clear answer. Studios have every reason to avoid the topic. If people believed their children were being shown hidden images, the backlash would be massive, even if the content was technically harmless. So the silence might be less about secrecy and more about protection. But one thing is certain. Cartoons have changed. The bright, simple shows of the past have become more layered, more chaotic, and more visually dense. With so much happening on screen at once, a single frame could hide just about anything. So next time you're watching a cartoon and feel something shift, something you can't quite explain, consider this. Maybe it wasn't just the story. Maybe there was a message buried between the moments. Just one frame, just enough to slip by unnoticed.